Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Pearl alcohol inks, and so let's go ahead and get started. So I received these new Pearl alcohol inks in the mail and wanted to rip into them and get started. And I thought I would film it so you guys could see as I do this. So the kit I had gotten, and you don't have to buy all of them, included 4 different sets of 3 inks. And so I wind up actually opening them all, as you'll see here. But I first start with the green, the blue, and the violet. And I'll put the colors below so you have them. And like everything in here, I'll include links where I can of things that I'm using. So the first one, like I said, is this kind of violet, green, and blue color. And I'm going to also try them on different papers. So the first paper that you're going to see here is just the regular Yupo paper that I had used, the cardstock. If you haven't used alcohol ink, you do need special paper. You need stuff that is non-porous, such as Yupo paper. And the second one that is here is going to include the silver brushed, and this is new, cardstock specifically for alcohol inks. And the one I'm holding here is a different type of Yupo paper. It is translucent, and I hadn't played around with it, so I thought it might be kind of fun to use on these. And interestingly enough, these inks do react very differently to the different papers. So again, I haven't tried this translucent one before, but we're going to go ahead and get started on that. So here, I'm going to speed this up for a sake of time. It's fun playing with alcohol inks. If you haven't, I would really encourage you doing this. Again, these are new. The Pearl alcohol inks just were released. And so you'll just see here, I want to sample it. I want to see what these do compared to the other ones. So I have a couple of things. This is regular Yupo cardstock. It is what you're seeing me use is the blending tool. So I've got a felt blender on that. And normally with alcohol inks, you touch it and they move around a lot. What I see with these is, okay, not exactly the same. They do move around when I use blending solution. And what I find, and you'll see this over time, is the more blending solution I use, the more it moves. So again, the other difference to me, when you use regular alcohol ink, if you put it down and then you decide to change your mind and you add some blending solution, it really tends to move again. So sometimes it pushes it out. It does here, but not in the same manner. It dries pretty quickly. And I think as I zoom in here, you'll see it even more, but there's this, and it's not really turning up on the screen as much as I'd like it to, but there's this pearlescence and it's beautiful. And I think that causes it to be a different mixture and not move around as much if you don't use blending solution. So again, here I've opened up the blue, the green, and the violet color, and this is what you're seeing here. I try laying in a couple of instances over the pink, this blue, parts of it turn purple, parts of it push it out, but I quickly realized I'm not going to be using the blending tool on any of the additional cards that are the samples I'm going to make. So I do decide to open the next package, and this one is beautiful. I'm having trouble getting it out, and I think what happened is when I was shaking, because you have to shake these, right? And these, I will say, not only do you have to shake them like you do the additives, if you have used the alcohol ink additives, this is not the same thing. These are actually alcohol inks. They're not additives, but you do have to shake them. There is a ball inside, and shaking it up and down, I think, got that one plugged. And so I wound up using a pin to open it up, and I didn't have any more problems. But I was very careful in trying to shake the bottle side to side versus up and down. So it was a beautiful twilight blue color and brown. And then I wind up, you'll see here just as I go through this, opening up the rest of the packages. which was very cool. I'm still trying to determine like what happens when you overlay one ink on the other, and these are somewhat translucent, I would say, because what happens, you'll see in that purple that I put down and the other ones, as they start to overlap, it just creates more depth, but you can still see through it to the other ink. In some cases it may combine colors, but in most it's just kind of an overlay and it becomes a darker color, but you could still see the underneath one. So as I sample this next set, I really liked when I did it, the red. It seemed to make this, and I struggle getting it on this one, but it seemed to make this beautiful color and this overlay that looked like a flower to me. So I kind of messed around and I was like, okay, let's put this red on the silver brushed cardstock because it's new. I wanted to try it out. And so I'm really not doing anything here other than just trying to get a feel for the paper. And I was trying to recreate maybe a flower in the red. And then I was like, I'm going to add blue for the sky. So again, I'm not really doing a card or anything. I'm really experimenting. One thing I do find, and I'm going to speed up through here, but one thing I do find that's interesting is this is probably good if I wanted to do, like I was doing that sky up there, you'll see I'll add another color, but it might be good for doing die cutout. So if I want to create a cloud, you could, you know, put this down and get the colors and then do a card cutout. So I do like the subtle mirror effect of the brushed silver. So I think that's cool. So on this next one, I'm going to actually use the translucent Yupo paper, and you can see through it there. When I put the ink on it, you really can't see as much as I thought. You might be able to see through it, and I used some darker inks, so that might be one thing I'll experiment, is maybe just using some of the lighter colors, but I choose to use this pretty violet color with purple, and then there's this like orange, and it's like a bright orange or almost even a rust color to it because I think the Pearlescence puts that in there. So I'm just going through here. I'm using my little air tool to push it around. What I do start to see is the more blending solution I use, the easier the inks are to move around. So what I'm starting to do is put it down on the paper first, the blending solution, and then add the inks. And then as it dries, because it does dry pretty quickly, you'll see here, I'm going back and adding more blending solution, more ink, and then you just kind of build the card up. So I'm taking a look at this card and I'm trying to show you how much pearlescence is there. Again, I don't know that it's coming across as well on camera as it did in person, but it's just beautiful. And once I found that right mix of blending solution and ink, I really felt like, okay, I got this. And this one, again, it's interesting. It's on the the silver brushed cardstock. Again, I'd probably use that one more for cutting out. And this was the original, just testing out the different inks and the colors and just seeing what they look like. There are a lot of really unique and very cool colors in this kit. Again, you don't need to buy them all. Buy one set and just experiment with it. You don't need all of them. By far my favorite were the greens and the blues, and that's just me. But I do kind of step out in one of the cards that I'm about to do here and add some brown, which made it really cool. And then I made one final one that reminded me more of turquoise. I love turquoise, and so it's that turquoise blue with the browns, and when they overlap they actually made like a deeper teal color, so it's pretty cool. But this one is really going to be green and then the blues and a little bit of brown. So you can see the green here is moving all over the place, and so is the blue. I did put, this was probably the most blending solution I put down. I will say, and you don't see it on camera, I did try using alcohol because you can use that to move ink, the regular inks. It blew out all the sparkles. It was a mess. So I would not recommend using that. And I'm going to stick to the blending solution here. So I'm using that deeper shade, that kind of twilight shade of blue. And these do dry really fast, so you don't have as much time to move them around the page with air. If you don't have one of these tools, you can always use a straw and blow through that to move some of the ink. But again, you got to move pretty quickly, and there's not a lot of time to do that. One thing that I really do like about this card is that green has this marble effect through it. It just, the green, I noticed it more than any other color. And actually what happens is I wind up overdoing this a little bit towards the end. I wish I would have just left the green the way it was, but I try to go back in. I wanted to see if I could build layers to it. It still turned out really beautiful, and there's a lot of pearl in there. I just wish I had left it the way it looks on the screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this and hopefully enjoy. If you're liking this content, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, a like, subscribe to get future content. And as always, I will include the product information below. So here's my initial thoughts, my initial reaction. I really enjoyed these inks. They were completely different. I shouldn't say completely. They were somewhat different to me than the regular alcohol inks. I will say the commonality to me is they were both beautiful. And so I really enjoy alcohol inks. I could spend probably hours doing this. And their properties are similar. Again, the pearlescence just gives it this beautiful glow, but they do move differently. At least they move differently for me. So I enjoyed them. Again, I would recommend, if you haven't tried them, maybe just getting a small kit and experimenting. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate giving me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and the alert. That way, when future content comes up, you'll be notified. Thanks for joining today. Again, I'll include the link below to my previous alcohol card.